about the advantages and disadvantages to housing your rabbits indoors. This video is also a collaboration with Laura MVB here on YouTube. She was actually one of my first viewers and commenters and subscribers, so I'm so excited that she wanted to do this collab. Laura's going to be doing outdoor rabbit pros and cons, so between both of our videos, you'll be able to get a good idea about where you want to house your rabbit. Laura also has the two most adorable dwarf and lionhead rabbits, so you should totally check out her channel. The link will be down below. Now, I just wanted to also add that this video is filmed a lot differently than I normally film my videos.
I normally film my videos and then do voiceover, but today I'm going to do a sit-down kind of talk-through video.
So let me know what you guys think. Without further ado, let's finally get started. The first advantage to housing your rabbits indoors, which a lot of people don't realize, is the cost. Housing your rabbits outdoors is actually really expensive. Outdoor rabbit hutches can range between $100 to $200. In addition, most rabbit hutches aren't big enough, so you'll have to buy an outdoor run to go along. These runs itself can cost around $50, and if it doesn't have a cover on it, you'll have to build a custom cover, which is going to take more money and more time. If you want a more suitable outdoor accommodation, you're going to have to invest in a shed, and most sheds can cost between $500 to $1,000. When you house your rabbits indoors, they really don't need that expensive or as durable as a cage. My bunny personally lives in a puppy X-pen that's about 36 inches tall. My X-pen cost me around $40 new. This is obviously much cheaper than the $300 I would have to spend if I wanted to house them outdoors. Another advantage with housing rabbits indoors is the type of cages you can buy. When you house your rabbits outdoors, you're going to have to buy wooden cages. Rabbits love chewing on wood, and wood can actually be weathered quite easily. If your rabbit accidentally urinates on it or you have a big rainstorm, you might even need to replace your hutch. When you have your rabbits indoors, you can have metal cages, which means that you won't ever have to replace them throughout their lifespan. Another advantage to housing your bunnies indoor is their health. Rabbits are prey animals, so when they get sick, they try to hide their illness to the best of their ability. In their wild, this means that predators won't pick them off as weak. But in captivity, this is actually really bad, especially for us. This means by the time that we can actually notice that something is wrong, it might be too late to help our rabbit. When you house your rabbits indoors, you'll get used to their daily routines, and you'll know the second when something is wrong. Another advantage with health is actually the parasites and diseases that they can contract outside. Depending on your wild rabbit population, there might actually be a lot of diseases floating around because wild rabbits are considered pests. Your rabbits could easily get one of these parasites, and this is going to drastically reduce their lifespan. Another thing to do with health is the weather. When you house your rabbits outdoor, they're susceptible to all weather changes, whether it's really cold to really hot or really rainy to really windy. When you house your rabbits indoors, if the temperature is good enough for you, it's good enough for them. A lot of people don't realize how easily rabbits can get heat stroke and frostbite. So when you house your rabbits outdoors, you're going to have to take in a lot of things into consideration. Another advantage to housing your rabbits indoors is actually the time. When you house your rabbits indoors, you're going to be able to spend a lot more time with them, especially on their terms. Rabbits are what you call crepuscular. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but basically it means that they're most active at dawn and dusk. This is perfect, especially if you go to school or work, because it basically means that they're awake all the times that you're awake and not at school. This is really good, especially if you house your rabbits indoors, because right in the morning you'll be able to spend time with them and right before you go to bed. But this could be really bad if you're housing your rabbits outdoors. This means that rabbits will be most active when it's the coldest and darkest, so you might not want to spend a lot of time with them. I know I personally wouldn't want to go outside in the cold, dark weather just to be with my rabbit for a few minutes. Another advantage with time is that you're actually going to spend a lot less time cleaning. When you have hutches, you can use fleece bedding, but it's not always recommended. The best bedding to use when you're housing your is beddings like Carefresh or Aspen shavings. These beddings are great because your rabbit can burrow down in them if it gets really cold, but they're also much harder to clean and not to mention more expensive. When you have something like Aspen wood shavings, you're going to have to replace them every time it rains or snows or every time that your bunny urinates on them. This means you'll be doing about full changes at least weekly. When you house your rabbits indoors, you can choose to have no bedding or bedding with something like foam or fleece. This is a lot easier to clean as you can just sweep it up. Another advantage to housing your rabbits indoors is that you're going to be able to get a faster bond with them. Another advantage to housing your rabbits indoors is you're actually going to be able to form a much faster bond with them. A lot of people don't realize this, but when you house your rabbits indoors, you're going to be able to, or the rabbits are going to be able to get used to your voices and the noises that you make on a daily basis. So it'll be a lot easier to bond with them. They're also going to get used to household sounds and they're going to be really curious. Me and my rabbit were fully bonded in about a week. My rabbit lived in my bedroom, so he got really used to me and my daily routine, which is really great because we bonded really fast. On to the cons. Some of the bad things about housing your rabbits indoors is space. Rabbits, especially when they're living indoors, need lots of space. When they're indoors, they don't have the same exploration and enrichment that they get when they're outside. They don't hear the same sounds or they don't smell the same things, which means that they're going to need a lot more things in their cage to keep them entertained. They're also going to need a lot bigger cage to run around and binky and flop in. Mainly just run around in. So you're going to have to be willing to sacrifice a good amount of space. This is really bad, especially if you're somewhere like in an apartment where you already don't have a lot of space to begin with. If your rabbit's outdoors, you're really not going to be sacrificing that much space because you're already outdoors. Another disadvantage to having to house your rabbits indoor is the mess and the smell. Rabbits, especially before they've been spayed or neutered, smell really, really bad, and you're going to have to be cleaning out their litter boxes far more often than you would if they were outside. Now, just to add,
I don't think my rabbit personally smells. This might be because I'm nose blind or maybe I'm just really lucky with a really clean rabbit. But I only clean his litter box out every other week, which might sound kind of gross, but it really doesn't smell. So I guess it does depend on your rabbit, but I do know that rabbits can smell really bad.
another disadvantage is the mess. Rabbits, despite how clean they keep themselves, are not very tidy when they come to their cage. They're going to be throwing around hay, bedding, and toys everywhere. This means they're going to have a lot of mess that goes outside of their cage, which equals more cleaning.
Now I will say that when my rabbit is indoors, it's a lot easier to clean his cage because I don't have to go outside and I can do it whenever I want. But it is a lot of mess to clean up and I do have to do it more often than I would if he were outside.
Another disadvantage of having to house your rabbits indoors is allergies. A lot of people don't realize, but you can be allergic to dogs and cats. You can be allergic to rabbits the same way you're allergic to dogs and cats. Rabbit fur is actually a lot finer than most dog fur, so you can actually have more severe allergy to rabbits than you do dogs. Another big thing that a lot of people don't realize is their hay. A lot of the time their hay is fairly dusty, and this actually causes a lot of allergies. When you have your rabbit outdoors, this doesn't mean you won't be allergic, it just means your allergies will be less severe. Another big disadvantage of having to house your rabbits indoors is their lifestyle. They obviously won't get to have a natural lifestyle.
My rabbit personally has never even been outside because the temperature change would be too much for him to handle. Our house is way warmer than it is outside in the snow, so if I were to take him outside, he could actually die from shock.
To conclude, where you house your rabbit really does depend on you, your lifestyle, and your climate. I personally don't have the best health, and I go to school, which means I have to spend time with my buddy at really odd hours. This wouldn't be possible if he were outside. Another reason I house my rabbit indoors is the climate. We personally have really hot and dry summers, along with really snowy and cold winters, which means outdoors probably wouldn't be the best for him, especially considering his age and his breed. The last reason that I choose to house him indoors is my lifestyle. I have to pay for everything that he has on my own, which means that I don't have $300 to spend on a suitable outdoor accommodation. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe to tell this little cutie how much you love him. Thank you guys for watching, and be sure to let me know what you guys think of this more casual style approach to my videos. Also, don't forget to check out Laura MVB's channel. It'll be in the description below. Thank you for watching. Bye!